Welcome back, everyone, to the smartest year ever, our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. My name is Gordy, and all this week we are covering the new 7 wonders of the world, one each day. Today, Machu Picchu, a city in the clouds that vanished from the maps for centuries. How did the Incans build this masterpiece at 8,000 feet above sea level, and how did it stay hidden for over 400 years? And I got some weird pictures from me visiting there. Like and subscribe right now if you haven't, so you can keep up every single day. I do this every single day. Let's start with this picture of me at Machu Picchu from a couple years ago. That is actually me, but that was not a couple years ago. I think that's from 2001, hence the hair. I'm looking pretty sassy there too. Yeah, it was a crazy trip. That's me in the Amazon before that. I just rediscovered all these funny stuff. I was like barely 5 feet there, to put it in perspective of adult heights and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, Machu Picchu. It was a pretty incredible place. Lots of llamas, they're the unpaid landscaping crew, essentially, of Machu Picchu. They keep the grass trimmed across the terraces like it's their job, because it kind of is. So let's just get right into it. Machu Picchu wasn't just an ancient city. It was a sacred royal estate built in the 1400s by the Incan emperor Pachacuti. And no one's entirely sure what it was for. Like, was it a summer palace, a religious site, a military outpost, a citadel of some sort? Probably all of the above. But we do know this: Machu Picchu was built where it should have been impossible, and it's still hard to get to today, even with modern transportation. The whole thing is perched on a mountain ridge in the Andes, surrounded by cliffs and jungles with sheer drops on all sides. But the Incans didn't flinch. They carved stone blocks so precisely that they didn't even need mortar, and the joints were so tight that the walls could survive earthquakes. The entire water system was gravity-fed, using hidden channels to distribute spring water across the city. And as I mentioned up top, the whole site was terraced to prevent landslides. At the heart of Machu Picchu stands the Intihuatana stone. Let me know if I'm saying that one right. And its name means hitching post of the sun, and it's carved with ritual precision. The stone, as you can see, aligns with the sun during the winter solstice in such a way that it casts almost no shadow, leading many to believe that it was used as a solar calendar. It's one of the few Incan ritual stones that the Spanish didn't destroy, and it's likely because they never found it, or they would have. Man, those conquistadors were freaking ruthless psychos back in the day. I've been reading a lot of books about South America, nonfiction books about South America, and Pizarro and his son and the brothers. Just pretty disgusting stuff happened. But yet Machu Picchu has still disappeared, not physically, but from international memory. When the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they never found it. The site was abandoned, possibly due to plague or war, and over time the jungle reconsumed it. Local Quechua people still knew about it, but the rest of the world didn't. Then, in 1911, a Yale professor named Hiram Bingham. That is an old name. There's not a lot of... Let me know if you're a listener and your name's Hiram. Hiram Bingham. He arrived, though, looking for a lost city called Vilcabamba, and was led to Machu Picchu by a local farmer's son. Bingham didn't discover it. I remember the Petra episode, where it's like, oh, I discovered this. It's like, people are already there. But Bingham just made it famous to the greater Western world, a theme, across all these 7 wonders, it seems. And so Bingham also took artifacts back to Yale, and he sparked a century-long legal fight with Peru that actually didn't even end until 2011. Machu Picchu's rediscovery shocked the world. It inspired global awe. It wasn't just the altitude, it was like the architecture, the mystery, and the sheer, how the hell did they do this up here? There are still things we don't really understand, which is exacerbated by the fact that the Incans didn't have written records. The Incans didn't use a written language like the alphabet. They used a system called quipu, made of knotted strings to record information like census data and tax records. But quipus are still only partially understood, and they weren't used to document history or architecture in a narrative form that we're used to. On top of that, the Spanish destroyed many Incan cultural artifacts during colonization, further erasing records that may have existed. Good job. And so most of what we know about Machu Picchu comes from the actual stones themselves. There's no definitive explanation for what every building was, just perfectly cut stone, sacred geometry, and a view, an incredible view. It really it shouldn't be there. It seems you have to climb so steep to get there. It's wild. But getting to Machu Picchu even today is not easy. It's not just like a plug and play kind of trip. First, you have to go into like Cuzco, a city that already sits over 11,000 feet above sea level, and so you're going to hit with altitude sickness. You're going to be chewing cocaine leaves, essentially. You're going to be chewing those to help you altitude. I remember literally having like a little bag of coca leaves on me, and just chewing those because all the locals said that would really help with the altitude sickness. Cusco is a gorgeous city. Here's me actually in a helicopter at some point, I think going to Cusco. I think it was old military. It was a venturous little life right back then. Military helicopter. And you can see, if you can see my shirt, it has a coca leaf, like a cocaine leaf on it, and it says coca es no drogas or something. It says like coca leaf is not a drug, because there was like a lot of issue that is such a a cultural thing for them. To the idea that you would ban the coca leaf because it could be manufactured into cocaine was kind of a point of contention for them. And they go, no, a coca leaf by itself is not a drug. In terms of like an illicit drug, like we think of cocaine as today. But yeah, there's wild times. I was like flying back to the States with it. I don't know if you could do that anymore. But yeah, from there, you take this winding train or this multi-day hike through the Sacred Valley to reach Aguas Calientes. Aguas Calientes is this town at the base of the site. And then you get on this bus that takes you on this steep, zigzagging bus ride. Or you can like do an uphill hike through this like super thin yet humid air to reach the entrance. And by the time you actually like step through the gate and see Machu Picchu, you're already kind of like winded, maybe a little sweaty, but also kind of cold. I don't know. It's weird. And you're just like, wow, how did the Incans pull this off without trains, buses, or oxygen masks or something like that? It's wild. I remember going up on these really steep buses and having these little local kids essentially on foot just race up ahead of us, because we'd see them at every turn. If you see the same kid every turn all the way up to the top of the mountain, just amazing cardiovascular strength. A few more wild facts. Let's see. Machu Picchu was built without the wheel, iron tools, or large pack animals. They had llamas, alpacas, but llamas aren't strong enough or reliable enough to haul giant stones up steep mountains. Machu Picchu also has over 150 stone buildings, including temples, houses, and ceremonial baths. And it's so precisely aligned with the sun that during the solstice, the sunlight does hit certain temples in precise, exact, predicted patterns, basically. It's really cool. At its peak, Machu Picchu likely housed around 300 to 750 people, mostly elite Incan nobles, priests, and specialized workers, plus support staff like farmers and builders. It wasn't a bustling city, but it was more like a royal retreat or this like ceremonial center. Just like, let's go out, let's get away to Machu Picchu and just summer there. And it was likely active from the mid-1400s to the late 1500s. Most experts believe it was abandoned around the time of the Spanish conquest, though, again, there's no evidence that the Spanish ever actually found it. And daily life there would have been highly organized. The terraces were used for farming maize and potatoes, and while spring-fed fountains provided fresh water to the people, which is amazing. Ceremonies were held in temples aligned with the sun, and the residents likely followed the strict social hierarchy of Inca society, where everyone had a defined role and nothing went to waste. So but there you have it. Machu Picchu, not just a lost city, but an Incan masterclass in engineering, spirituality, and altitude. City abandoned to the clouds and then pulled back into the spotlight. Really cool. I feel very fortunate to have been there, especially over almost 25 years ago. Seems maybe a bit crowded, more crowded these days. Yeah, just awesome. Let me know if you've been there, if you'd like to, or if you know any extra cool fun facts about this. If you've ever had Inca Cola, it tastes like bubble gum. It says yellow soda. Wasn't great, but I had a lot of it for some reason. Yeah, and check out my sources, which can be found in the YouTube description. Source of the photographs is my mom. And like and subscribe. Share this with someone. At Smartest Year Ever everywhere on social media. Go check out my 1-minute version after this. And in the meantime, stay curious and stay clever on our quest to become the world's greatest conversationalist. I will see you tomorrow in the Smartest Year Ever.